Welcome, everybody, to the narrators panel. During this 3 o'clock hour, we have these three narrators speaking. We got Ruan, Willow, Katie Gray, or Katie Thompson. They both go by they're the same person. I messed that up, but oh well. Don't restart the recording, Skylar. Just go with it. Schrader Thomas. Crush wants to thank author Cecile Tellier for sponsoring today's panel. Why don't we go ahead and have each of you uh, tell a little bit about yourself for those that might not know who you are.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Schrader Thomas. I'm actually a filmmaker, and I got into narration kind of by accident. A friend of mine who's a horror author, I was working on a film with him, and he asked me to narrate a story of his that was going to be in an anthology. I did the story. The editor of the anthology liked my read so much they asked me to do the whole anthology. And then I kind of got into the spicy side of this just because I like these stories. I think they're fun.
All right. Ruan, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. I am a narrator and I'm also an author and a podcaster. And I kind of did not expect to be in anything audio at all. I was on Twitter and I had done a few audio posts, just a regular posting, and people started telling me I should do a podcast and like my voice. And then somebody who was at a publishing house, a director, contacted me and said, "Hey, I would love for you to narrate some of my books. Would you do it? Do you know how to do it?" And I'm like, "No." So he got me a mentor and set me up with someone, and the rest is history. So now I do a ton of audio now. I do the audiobooks and the podcast. I also write. So I
Oh,
kind of hit all different sides there. I really
all
love
right.
it.
Great. Katie?
Sure, yeah. Hey, I'm Katie. I'm a voice actor and author as well here in Georgia. And I've been narrating audiobooks for a little over 2.5 years now. I primarily do romance and fantasy, but I'm branching out a little bit into some thriller and that kind of psychological thriller genre a little bit recently, which has been fun. Yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Great. Okay, so first question, and we'll start off. For this question, we'll go Ruin, Katie, and then Schrader, and then we'll kind of um, do the turn order a little bit different for the next couple questions. What is your favorite genre to narrate and why?
Oh, I definitely love romance. I love smutty, spicy, sexy, taboo. I love being the bad person, the extreme. I love doing that stuff because it's not necessarily stuff I do in real life. So to me, it's so fun to act that out. So I love it. More extreme. I'll do really extreme stuff too. So it's fun.
Awesome.
Yes,
Katie?
I have to agree. Romance is definitely my favorite. I find that there is such a rich amount of subgenres within romance too, that if you have any particular interest outside of romance, you can find something that works within that genre. And there's so much versatility. And I just love a lot of stories that are told by women for women. I love being able to kind of bring those to the forefront as well.
Yeah, I have to agree. I love doing romance, but like Katie was saying, there are so many different subgenres, and my favorite subgenre is the horror romance, and I like splatterpunk. I like dirty, nasty, like Ruan was saying, it's not stuff I do in real life, so I like to kind of, spice it up when I'm reading something. But I like a story that there's more to the story than just necessarily the spicy parts or the romance stuff.
Mhm.
I like a detective story, or something like that. I think that those are really fun when there's more story to kind of sink your teeth into.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this next question, we're gonna go with Katie, then Schrader, then Ruin. How do you approach creating character voices?
So my background actually is acting. Excuse me, I've been acting for over 20 years, so I have a lot of experience with kind of reading a manuscript or script or a book and breaking characters down that way, playing with different accents, vocal styles, things like that. I actually use just a good old spreadsheet to track my character voices and things like that. But yeah, that I actually approach it like I did a lot of theater, just playing around and yeah, just being playful and is finding different ways to really bring the story to life.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. And I use a spreadsheet as well, Katie. I think it's just
Nice.
because there's especially when there's so many characters. It's like, well, and for me, I'm not traditionally an actor, but I do work with actors, and I kind of understand that way of thinking about it. And so I also like to just kind of play around with it. Of course, you read the book all the way through first to kind of see if there's any background information on the character. I mean, there's nothing worse than, starting a story out and then halfway through it says he said in his southern twang or something like that. It's like, oh, I haven't been doing a southern twang for this character. So you read through and kind of see if there are any clues in the manuscript, as to who or what they are, and then you just kind of play with it and have fun.
Well, I'm a lot more spontaneous with the way I do it. I generally do not even read it beforehand because I
Oh,
love the genuineness I get, the my natural reactions. And so, but often what I'll find myself doing is if I say a sentence and I don't like it or I don't feel like it fits, I'll do it several more times and then I
right.
have more to pick from. And I find you probably find this too. It's better to have multiple choices within that recording than recording it separate and then inserting it because it's harder to get it to match. Like you need
Agreed.
it to, like it's easier if you have multiple choices within the actual recording. So I try to do that as much as possible, but I'm really in and my mentor does it this way too, so maybe that's where I got it from, but he does the same exact thing because he wants that natural reaction, that surprise, that wow. But you kind of have to be someone who can like think on your feet to be able to do
Yeah.
that. I'm not a planner. Like I'm not much of a planner. Like I'll often like write my podcast episode, record it the same day and edit it the same day. Like and I don't even have it planned out. So I'm kind of just more like fly by the seat of my pants. And I find that I do that with narrating too. For me, I like higher pitch, lower pitch. I can do a man voice better now than I could initially. It's hard to do, but it's interesting how spacing matters and silence. Like
Mm,
silence helps tell the story in the sentence. And I've just kind of learned this through experience that it's amazing how if you say a sentence and if you mess around with a space between the words, you almost change the meaning. So like
it's true.
silence matters in
It's very
audio,
true.
right? Like,
Absolutely.
and that's crazy. And sometimes I'll play with it and stick it in and take it out. But it's amazing how even silence matters.
Yes. That's so
Absolutely.
interesting to me. I don't know if I could fly by the seat of my pants like that. So that's fascinating to me. I mean, like Katie's, I mean, I think we're just planners. I've got my spreadsheet and I'm
Mm.
thinking about it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's fascinating
Well,
to
and another thing I do on my podcast, sometimes I'll do erotic improv
me.
where I'll
Uh-huh.
just get on my microphone and I'll just do a story like right off the
Oh,
top of my head.
wow.
Right?
Okay.
Like so it's actually an erotic story improv and I've done it multiple times.
Wow.
Sometimes I'll then take that and turn it into a written story too or an audiobook. But so I don't know, I guess it's just the way my brain works. And I
That's
know I know
fascinating.
so many people that do it the way you do. And I'm so audible too, like I, have to hear it. So like instead of I may have a little bit of notes, but I don't have a whole lot of notes. I just have to re-listen to myself speak as that
Okay.
character, and then I can redo it. I can,
Interesting.
like, but I have to sometimes listen to it, maybe practice it one line
Right.
or something like that. So I don't know.
Interesting. That's really
I
interesting.
guess I'm just do it differently, but
Yeah, as a writer, I'm a fly by the seat of your pants. I'm a pantser rather than a
Answer.
plotter.
I was gonna
Interesting.
I
say, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I like writing, and if I know the ending of it, I get bored by the entire story, so I just let the story kind of go where it's at.
Well,
So
that's
I
yeah.
kind of I get where you're at, Ruin. Um so I am listening. I'm currently making my way through the Stormlight archives by Brandon Sanderson, and of course his latest book is 65 hours long,
wow.
Oh.
Wow.
and it's a beast of a book. And I have a
Wow.
friend that is reading that same book about the same time. Of course, I'm listening to it at 1.75 speed, because it's on loan from the library, so I have to get through it quick.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that makes
Um,
sense.
but
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
so interesting to me the difference between reading and listening to it because
Oh, yeah.
the voice narrators will take the characters and they'll do like a shalan, or they'll make like the voices different, and
Yeah.
I get more of an enjoyable experience from listening to it and hearing them, and then I'll be like, hey, how do you, like, I'll ask her, how do you hear this character, and what does this character sound like to you? And then I'll be like, well, the voice narrator, I'll like record a little bit of it and send it to them, and they're like, that's not how I pictured that person at all. So
Uh,
I always love the little differences that the voice narrators bring to that. Um,
Hmm.
as far as like your character voices and you're creating them, um, do you like how do you when you're keeping notes, do you like how do you exactly remember characters? Because I imagine in a book you have several different characters you have to keep memory of. Like, how do you like just kind of like keep those in your mind and like just call them up as a memory? Like, how do you do that? Like, I can't I can't have two thoughts in my brain at once. So trying to switch between characters
well,
must be pretty interesting. This is a question for any of you if
yeah, I mean, again, again, I'm such a planner,
Mhm.
so I mean, for me,
yeah.
I will go through and I will just record, I will take a little snippet of what each character sounds like. And so I've
Mm.
got in my spreadsheet, I've got the list.
Oh,
Same.
So,
gotcha.
because like Ruan said, I want to hear what my performance was of that character. So it's like, where was I doing with
Mm.
that one? Oh yeah, that's who that person is. And so I've got uh, color coded, like
Yeah.
listed out different character voices, and Ruan must think this is crazy.
I know. I'm just thinking, no, I'm not doing that.
Too much work. But I like that because then, like you were saying though, I mean, because then I can listen to it quickly
Hmm.
and say, oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, that's who that character is. That's who I was doing with that person.
right.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
I do something very similar. I have like a bank. I usually send the authors that I work with like a little snippet of each character before I start the recording, just because if you've ever had an author come to you after a 9-hour audiobook and say, I really don't like how that character showed up in the
Yeah,
second half of
that's
the
not
book,
good.
it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's the worst thing in the world.
Right. Now what do I do?
And I have my authors actually fill out a pretty detailed questionnaire before we even get started, just so they can tell me about different
Oh.
vocal styles. I even say, like, is there an actor that you thought of while you were writing this book that's like, oh, they sound
Mm.
just like,
Oh.
Nicole Kidman in my head or whatever. So I have like a reference that I can, and I don't like try to copy, but having a reference is always super helpful for me because it just gives me a place to start.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Okay.
smart.
I recorded a book once and I said the name wrong.
Oh
Oh,
no.
Ooh.
Because and
Oh.
it's a common name where he lives, and I didn't know that, and I just said it the way I did. And in the end, he was totally okay with it, but he's like, "That's not how you say the name," and I was like, "Oh my gosh," because it's like
Oh.
throughout the entire book,
oh,
Oh no.
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And he's like, just leave it, because it's just like a different pronunciation. I'm from the Midwest, and maybe that's just their pronunciation. And he was from the South,
Oh,
so.
yeah.
So,
Right.
he just kind of chalked it up to that. Like, this is how maybe people in your state would say it.
Alrighty. So this next question will start off with Schrader and then Ruin and then Katie.
Okay.
What equipment do you use for recording? And like what's like the basic standard if somebody wanted to get into it, like what do they need?
Right. So, I mean, I'm still working in my closet, which I have padded. I mean, I've got a decent sized closet, but it's still in my closet. And, I mean, I just have, I can't think, I have people usually know this tech stuff I should have thought of. I just have a Audio Technic microphone plugged right into my Mac, and I just and I have a little solo amplifier, but I mean that's it. I like to use Adobe Audition because I'm an Adobe person, so that's the program that I use. But it's really just it's a mic and it's the computer and it's me.
Okay.
I also use Audio Technica for my headphones and for my microphone. I use a Focusrite interface, which
Right.
I plug my microphone into, and then that goes into the laptop. I record in Audacity, and it's so simple to learn Audacity. There are so many things all over YouTube that can teach you how to use it, and it's really simple. And I do have other programs, like I have the RX Isotope RX8, and I use that more for editing than I do for recording. But I really like using the simplicity of Audacity. That's just I don't know. I'm also in a closet, but this is an under the stairs closet.
Oh,
So it has foam all over, and of course you can see the lights just for fun. It's just it works. Closets work. They
yeah,
really do. This is my
yeah.
permanent room that I record in all the time, and it's a little like mini studio in my house, which is great.
Yep, I'm very similar. I have a DIY built studio in a guest room with, foam padding and all that good stuff. I also use Audacity. I am a girl. If I can get something for free, I'm gonna get it for free. So I love using Audacity for editing. I use the RX Isotope too. That's been great. Those tried and true tools. If it works, it works. My microphone is a Rode NT1 with an A1 interface, and yeah, I just have my Mac here in the booth with me. So fingers crossed in the next couple years I can upgrade to a big girl booth, but this works.
Mhm.
Great. All
Nice.
right, so since we're kind of in the middle of the panel, we have to kind of break a little bit just to give the scavenger hunt word of the day, and it's road. Middle of the panel, it means middle of the road. So write that down, keep it somewhere where you can put it with all your other scavenger hunt words of the day. Again, that word is road. All right, back to the questions. And this time we'll just open it up. Whoever wants to answer first can go. Um, how do you approach difficult or sensitive passages in the story?
I, I mean, I'll jump in. There's nothing stranger than a 250 pound masculine man sitting in his little closet simulating female orgasm.
I
So
love that
I've
sentence.
so the first time I had to do it, I just kind of sat there. I was like, okay. I mean, I know how this sounds. It's not a sound I've necessarily ever done, so it's challenging. I think I think doing I mean, when you mentioned, your male voices, I mean, it's like you've got to do the female voices. But as far as the like the spicy and the sex scenes go, I mean, it's intimate and it's part of life. And I find it, it's erotic and interesting and fun to do. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I think with anything like improv or comedy, that it's just you can't be afraid to feel silly sometimes. Like it's gonna feel weird. You do get more used to it the more you do it, obviously, and it does get easier. You learn some tools and tricks and things like that. But yeah, it's just a matter of not overdoing it sometimes. It's just trying to be as real as possible. I think it's very easy to overdo things like this. But you just want to keep it grounded and real. And I think that's what usually connects to listeners a lot
Yeah.
um, more than something way over the top.
Yeah, I find that also there is an audience for that, but yeah,
Sure.
that's
Yeah,
the hard part is figuring out. Then that's something to ask the author too. What kind of an audience is this? Do they want more sound, less sound, that kind of thing?
absolutely.
But I just dive in just like I do with anything else, and to me, it's just more authentic reactions. It's fun, and I know I've seen things where people say, "Oh, stand up when you narrate." I tried that. I didn't like that, so I
Mm.
sit. But everybody has to try and figure out how their body is going to be. What are you going to be doing? How are you going to be sitting? What are you wearing? What are you sitting on? All those things are going to impact you. The other thing I find is that sometimes I get so into acting it, especially if it's something really like, sensual. I will like feel like kind of, I don't know, worn out or exhausted afterwards. Like I was actually doing this stuff and like, your brain is going there. And that's one of the things I love about doing this is it's just so, it's like an experience more
Immersive
than
almost.
yeah, that's the good word is immersive. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
I love those scenes, honestly.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm an avid listener of audiobooks, and I was listening to one of those a spicy book that a friend said, "Hey, can you listen to it? Give me your honest opinion." Because she wasn't too sure of the narrator, and so it's a sunny, beautiful day, and I'm in Midwest Indiana, this rural kind of town. I have the windows rolled down. I'm listening to this audiobook and I pull up to a stoplight and it gets to that one part Schrader like you mentioned, and
Yep.
I just happen to remember that my windows are rolled down, and I look over and there's this little old
Hello.
lady looking at me.
Yeah, that's happened to me at some drive-throughs, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. But I think one of the most challenging things about this is if you're actually doing an audiobook with another voice actor and you're not in the room with them, obviously. So if
Mhm.
different circumstances, you can play off each other, but having to find that balance of making it sound like you're actually playing off each other is
Mm,
like one of the hardest skills to learn in this business, I feel
that's
like.
true.
Mm,
Yeah,
mhm.
that's very true.
All right. So
Yeah.
next question. How did you all get started with voice acting?
Does it matter who goes first?
Nope. Anybody can
Okay.
go.
All right. Well, like I mentioned, I have a background in acting, but I had not been doing that for a while. But I had my daughter in 2021, and I was just like, I gotta get out of the house and do something. So I was on like 3 mile walks every day, listening to audiobooks, and it just felt really connected to the acting part that I hadn't done in so long. So I just built my first little booth and started auditioning on ACX
Mm.
and started just doing royalty share books with authors that were willing to take a chance on me and just deep dived into learning all of the ins and outs and the technical stuff and the editing and all that stuff. Luckily, like Ruan, I had done some podcasting and some editing in my background, so I had a little bit of a head start, but it was, yeah, just both feet jumped in and had to learn as I went I mean, for most of it. But yeah, it's been kind of a crazy ride.
I mean, like I said earlier, a good friend of mine is a horror author and asked me to, and just liked my voice and asked me to narrate a story that he had in an anthology, and I really enjoyed it. And the anthology editor asked me to narrate the whole anthology, and so I did, and then from there, like Katie said, I went to ACX. I mean, that's where we learn, really.
Mhm.
You meet authors and do the royalty share books and figure out what you like to do.
Yes, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I kind of mentioned in the beginning too how I started, and I didn't even expect to be doing this. I was a writer, I was an author, I was writing books, and people heard my voice, were like, "I really like your voice," and I kept hearing it over and over again, and I was like, kind of shocked. I was like, "You what?" Like, what are you talking about? And so, and then the same time, the audiobook, the person was approaching me about doing his books for he was a director of a publishing house. People were telling me to do you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast. So they kind of evolved at the same exact time. And so I'm honestly still shocked that I'm doing as much audio as I am because I never expected to be, and I'm so self-taught and I've done, so many podcast episodes. I narrate my own books, I narrate for other people. So I'm kind of one of those people that kind of just, yeah, I learned along the way. I went to ACX as well. I just kind of have learned along the way, taught myself, learned through experience and trying things and just being bold, just getting out there and doing it. Fearless. That's
Yes.
be fearless. If you want to try something, be fearless and do it.
That kind of jumps into another off the script question I had. What's one or two pieces of advice that you would have for somebody that is looking into getting into this business,
I
and
think
for anybody?
I think like Ruan said, be fearless. And like Katie said, you've got to be able to look foolish a little bit, or at least feel
Hmm.
foolish, I mean, because it's performing, but you're kind of sitting in a room performing to yourself, and so you have to be comfortable with that and find the voice of it. Because, when I was first doing it, I kind of feel like I had to do this kind of announcery voice, and that's not what it is at
Mm.
all. It's really
Hmm.
intimate. You're telling a story to someone, So
Hmm.
the good piece of advice that I got was imagine one person that you're telling this story to, not this huge audience that you're, announcing the whole thing to, but you're telling the story to one person, and it's really intimate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was
go
going to
ahead.
say piggyback off of the be fearless because I love that.
Yeah.
Um, Also, don't be afraid to put yourself out there while you're learning. A lot of the
Hmm.
traction that I got like on TikTok was actually following along with my journey of learning how to narrate and learning how to edit. And authors were just enjoying seeing the behind the scenes process, and I was able to connect with them on a personal human level. And thankfully they liked my voice as well. But you're part of the product, whether it's your voice or your personality and your brand. So just not being afraid to like show your face and show, making mistakes. People love that human element of the whole process.
Right. And I think just like anything, we may end up not liking our initial stuff that we started out doing, but you know
Oh,
what? Let it exist. It it was a piece of your growth, like you may want to go back and change it. Like I can do that so much better now. Don't. This is a progression, just like anything else. You got to be ready to make those mistakes and be like, okay, well, that didn't work. I'll do something else. I think that if we don't do that and we want to do something, we're just missing out on life. If you want to do something, try it and don't be afraid to make mistakes, right? Make mistakes, do it because this is how we learn. And I made mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. I think it's interesting too how people have a really strong reaction to voices. In the audiobook world, the listeners are very different than the people who read the books.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of interesting that people have such a reaction to hearing your voice. They either like it, hate it, love it, tolerate it, but it's so much more of a reaction than reading it because it's in their head. And then, obviously we're feeding it to them when we do it. So,
Right.
and I forgot to say this too. I think it's interesting that you had talked about reading it to one person. I have never really thought about the fact that what I'm doing is listening to multiple people. So I've never imagined like I was in an auditorium or anything. I'm
Oh,
just always very present in my little room here. And, like you said, it's very intimate, one person. I don't imagine a big giant audience when I'm
oh,
doing it.
right.
right.
That's smart. I just did at first. I just like
Sure,
I was kind of
sure.
like I'm announcing, I'm reading. It's like it's even different than the author reading to a group of people. It's really a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
So, if I remember correctly, uh, Katie,
hmm
you do you narrate your own stuff, correct?
So my book is not published yet. It's
Okay.
actually about audiobook narrators in
Oh,
Oh,
Hollywood.
really?
cool.
Is it like a
Yeah,
fiction or?
so I thought that was a fun spin on things, but I mostly narrate other people's work at the
Oh,
moment.
okay.
hmm I'm
D- Uh,
hoping to narrate my own book at some point. We
Oh,
gotta
that's
sell it
cool. Is
first.
is it fiction or is it nonfiction?
Fiction. It's
Oh,
fiction,
cool.
yeah.
Oh,
all
But
nice.
it's
right,
just
cool.
based on my experiences of, behind the scenes and working as a narrator, and specifically in the romance world. It's kind of a love
Oh,
letter to the
cool.
romance genre and, you know, as a whole as well.
Oh, very cool.
Ruin and Trader, do you write your and narrate your own stuff or?
I'm not an author. I'm
Okay.
not a writer. I only read other people's work.
Oh, I definitely do. I have
I knew
done
there was
about
one of you guys that did. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good.
I've done like, I don't know, I think I've done like, 80 some audiobooks, and about half of those are mine and
Oh,
half
wow.
are other people. And so I've narrated for about, I don't know, maybe 13 other authors. Some of them are short though, so they're not all these long 8-hour books, right? Some of them are short, especially in erotic romance or erotica, you may get shorter stories. They're
Mm,
not all 8-hour, big long books. But I find it really interesting to narrate my own because the story's already in my head, right? What comes
mhm.
to be a challenge is the times I've hired like a male narrator, right? Like, and so I'll try to guide them, but often what I get back from them is not how I imagined them saying it.
Oh,
If it's, sometimes I've had them redo the lines, sometimes I just keep them, but it's interesting to me also that the different interpretation, and I
right.
like the different interpretations that come from other narrators. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes it's not the way I thought that the character would say it, right? But it's not always a bad thing, but it's really been a learning process to insert those voices. That takes a long time. I don't know
Yeah.
if either of you ever done that, but it's you can triple
Oh,
to quadruple the time when you're
yes.
adding in other narrator
Yes.
voices for dialogue.
Yeah, the editing duet audiobooks, I will
Yeah.
any editor, I don't care what they ask, I will pay it because I know how hard it is to do.
Oh my
Yes, it
gosh, it really
is. It
is.
is.
Yes. And then to get it to mesh, like you said, not like be too loud or too,
Yes.
It's
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 a
a
lot of
challenge.
like
It is a
detailed oriented work for sure.
it
Mm,
really is.
it is. Hmm.
So you all have kind of answered a little bit of the next question I'm going to ask. What are some questions, one, two, or three questions, that you would ask the author before accepting a job?
Mm.
I usually ask the basic logistics, word count, timeline, budget, things like that. If they need editing, if they need producing, things like that. So just the logistics, but also I tend to like to maybe do a Zoom call or a phone call just to understand kind of like readiness. Because some authors are like not ready to let go of a
Mhm.
lot of the control and they want to almost kind of like have a director role, which is totally fine for some projects, not necessarily for like we've talked about these longer 8 to 10 hour audiobooks. It's just unfortunately not feasible. So I always just like to understand where they are in the process of like, okay, are they ready to kind of trust who they hire, or if they're maybe need a little more time to get there, which is neither one is a bad thing. It's always just about where they are in their journey. Yeah, just that's kind of a little bit more of that gray space, um, outside of just the logistical questions.
Mhm. I mean, the one smart thing that ACX does is they send the author the first 15 minutes. Uh,
Yes,
and
Mm.
so
Yes.
I still do that on my own, even if I'm not
same.
going through ACX,
Hmm.
just like here's where I'm at. What do you think? I
Hmm.
mean, even with speed, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes, they want you to speed it up or slow it down, and just the tone. So I do like to send the first 15 minutes or so and then have a conversation like that. I was interested, Katie, earlier you said you send them like a questionnaire. I'd love to
Hmm.
know, is there anything else other than what you just discussed that's on that questionnaire?
Yeah, I ask like just describe their personality. Are they
Oh,
bubbly? Are they young? Like age,
Hmm.
personality, ethnicity, accent, things like that. So that helps me just vocal style. But I also am like, hey, send me a link if you have like a clip off YouTube that was like, oh, that voice sounds exactly how I imagine in my head. Put that YouTube link in there. I
yeah,
just like
that's
as
so
much
smart.
information as possible. I love it.
Yes, yes, that's so smart. I love that.
Yeah, everything you both just said, I agree with. But yeah, also asking for special requests. And I've even had a few authors who want, like, they don't want me to do a male voice. Like, they want the entire
Yeah.
story in my voice. So these are
Uh,
very different things you need to
Mm.
know before you start, right? Because, once you start, you don't want to have to be redoing things because they're like, oh gosh, I thought you were going to do it all in your own voice.
right.
And, so that's when I obviously very much clarify what do you want and an overall statement of the feel of the book. Sometimes or a character, like the character might seem a certain way. Like I'll ask them that, okay, are there any surprises that maybe, in later books or something that might influence the character, right? Like, things that I may not know
Right.
that you could clue in me so that I do it better, the best I
Yes.
can.
That's a great point. I mean, for a personal story, one of the books that I just did, the main character was a psychopath. And so I did the
Mm.
audition, but they said this character has no emotion. The book has to sh like no emotion at all. So very, very
Wow.
glad I asked that in the beginning
Wow,
because that would
yes.
have been a big mess up if I did not know.
Right.
So yeah, just that kind of stuff. It's so important to know.
For
Yeah, it's
sure.
a you with the psychopath. It would be funny if you sent them the voice and it's this upbeat, cheery kind of a person.
Yeah, I mean, she was, yeah, a very interesting, complex character, but it's actually harder to act with no emotion than it is a lot of emotion when you're
Oh, I
Yes.
talking.
imagine so.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So
We were
Because we
just
feel emotions
given
when we're reading something,
it's
right?
Yes,
natural. It's
yes.
unnatural not to put that into your
Right.
voice. So that was a challenge, a fun one.
we were just given the 5 minute warning. So I will open it up to questions from the public. If you have any questions, unmute your mic and ask away.
I have questions, but I don't know if you can hear me.
I
We
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear
Okay,
you.
good. I had to switch because my other headphones died on me. So when you so you guys do ACX and non-ACX contracts, I assume.
Hmm.
Kitty, you said you send your questionnaires and stuff. Is it sometimes too much information to provide?
Can be. Yeah, it can be. Definitely. You have some authors that are like, yeah, they're happy, they're upbeat, and then some people will send me 3 paragraphs. So it just depends on the author. But yeah, I definitely, I tend to like more information. That doesn't hinder me from making my own acting choices or my own character choices. But Yeah, I just tend to like want to dive into the vision of the author as much as possible, but I've been able to kind of separate my own interpretation as well. So a little bit of both.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Stuart.
Um, so I noticed some of you said like the author would like you to do it in your voice, character voice. Has the author ever given you a choice? There's like doing one or the other. And I have a second question, if you don't mind. Have any of you ever done any poetry?
I've done some erotic poetry, some romantic poems, but
Cool.
yeah, so
Cool.
which is fun. I enjoy that. And I think that, most of the time the author has had an opinion whether they want it to be all in my voice or if they want me to try a male voice or alter it in some way. I don't think I've ever really had any that have said just they all kind of have an opinion,
Mhm.
I find, but that, that's their work. They created it. They have a vision
Right.
of it, so kind of expect that.
Yeah, and I think if anything, I've heard from authors who have heard like that first 15 minutes or so, and then they've said, "Oh, that's not quite how I thought this character would sound."
Yeah.
Rather than giving me something up front, it's more like, well, they heard something. It's like, nah, let's do it a little different, which I totally
Right.
appreciate. It's like let's get it the way you want it.
Yes, I've
I've
had that too.
I've I've never done poetry, and I don't think that I'd be very.
I
I
would
like
love
to
to do
listen to it.
poetry.
I
Yeah,
I
that
love to
would be
listen to
cool.
it. I just don't think that I could read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we got time for one more question, and then I have to do the outro.
Okay, I'll take the spot. When now that we hear all your behind the scenes prep work, how much of that do you um account for in your rate? Like so that I know it's per finished hour or if you have royalty share or whatever, but I mean that's a lot of work going into preparing for it and
Mhm.
um it doesn't reflect in the 3 hour audiobook when you spent, a whole week preparing for it in advance.
I mean, it does and it doesn't. I mean, you're right, but it's also I view it just as part of the work.
Hmm.
I mean, for me, it's just this is, I don't necessarily work in to my rate or anything a certain amount of prep time because I consider that part of what I'm supposed to do. For me,
Mhm.
my process, and for someone like Ruan who doesn't doesn't prep that much, I mean, it's different. For me, it's just it makes me more comfortable, and I think I move quicker. And so I think that the job goes better when I'm that prepared. So I prepare for me, really,
Yeah.
and it's just part of the
Mhm.
job.
Yeah, the same. I kind of roll it into my per finished hour. And the only time I would ever have any kind of additional charges, and I've never come across this, but if the author required me to do a significant amount of outside research, looking up
Yeah,
dialects or pronunciations, most of the time they'll provide that for you. But if they're not willing to for some reason and the research burden would be on me, then I would do an additional prep charge. But luckily
that
I've never had that happen. It's always been a really collaborative experience.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of just per finished hour. That's just kind of the standard, right? Like that's just
No
what
matter
it is. And
what work
whatever
you
you
put
do,
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yep, it's
All
the job.
righty. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time and spending the last 40 minutes with us. Next, in the Reader's Lounge, we have author Missy Jane for an author takeover. After that, we will have the author track panel, Pantser vs. Plotter, and the reader track panel, Morally Gray Main Characters. Make sure you take note of that scavenger hunt word from earlier to submit it for another chance to win. Giveaways will start at 5:30 Central Time, and you must be present to win. Be sure to hop back into the Reader's Lounge to enjoy Missy. Make sure when you're leaving the breakout room, you click the leave room and not leave meeting. That's important. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Ruan, Katie, and Schrader.
Thank
That was
you.
fun. I
Thanks.
appreciate
It
it.
was fun.